Hello, I am the Dark Fae, and welcome back to Confessions of a First-Time Dungeon Master. As always, if you missed the last session, I will put a link for it for you up in the corner. You can go check it out, catch up on what you missed, then come back here and find out what happened next. So this is now session 127. Let's begin. Okay, so this session was a little weird, partly because of me, but I'll explain why later. But essentially, after defeating this large dragon eel creature, they make their way back to the shores of Bolga, where the Earl and his wife and his people are kind of waiting for them. They all kind of give a great cheer when they return on the ship and they see that the large beast is actually on board. And so, in very Viking style fashion, they throw a big feast, have a big party for them in the Great Hall, while some of the sailors, they kind of work on getting this large creature off the boat and into one of the fishmongers work areas. So the party kind of did a few separate things. Tyrell and Basil, while they were on the ship, they wanted to try to pry some of the scales off of this thing. Tyrell wanted a keepsake. Basil wanted some kind of outfit or a garment. I think he explained that it was a mankini, so just covered the chest and just a little halter thing. But so they were able to collect maybe 16 or 17 scales before they kind of returned back, and then so Basil kind of went off to find a corner to work on constructing his mankini. And he was able to do so. Broke a few scales in the meantime, but eventually he has kind of a, mermaid seashell kind of a thing. It doesn't really offer a whole lot of protection since it's doesn't really cover enough of him. But he has that. And then Umric, he wanted to kind of go with the fishermen and see, kind of learn from them and how they might butcher this or harvest some of the useful parts of it. Since this is such a large creature, probably not great to eat it, but they are kind of able to harvest some of the organs and the teeth and the scales that. They find that its stomach is it's pretty tough material. It's able to withstand quite a bit of heat, and it's bisected into 2 compartments, one for food and one to hold its the seawater that it would swallow and then boil and then spew out. Although the heat was kind of generated by the dragon eel creature, so now that it's dead, it doesn't really have that heat still. And then there were 2 glands, because I don't really know how electric eels work. I looked it up, and there's 2 kind of glands that allow it to generate the electric current that kind of runs through its body. Basically, it turned out Umric kind of just expressed his interest in maybe getting some of the scales, and then kind of learning about the creature, and the fishermen kind of tentatively agree. They would have to defer to the Ermangior's decision on that, since it's not really theirs to make deals with. But yes, so that was what Umric did. And then Tyrell and Valhyri, because if I was not here for this episode, so Tyrell and Valhyri, they went to go party. So they had drinks, had food. Valhyri kind of proposed the idea to one of the barbarians, who then posed it to the Earl on her behalf, that maybe they could go on launch some sort of expedition to see if they could recover some of the items and gold that had originally been on the trading ships that were heading out of the open maw that had been sunk by this creature. Given what they trade in, and the amount of time that it's been underneath, there's definitely it's possible that maybe some stuff might be salvaged, like maybe some of like the nicer weapons or armor. But I would say things like textiles and textiles and some weapons and metalwork might not have lasted. There might be some coins still down there. I gotta prep that. So it might be worth like in some sea dredging to see what they can come up with, and they kind of after some negotiation, like the next morning, the Earl kind of agrees to like a 60-40 split, since the stuff is originally theirs and would help them prepare in the wintertime. Like originally proposed a 50-50 split, but didn't roll very well in persuasion, so he kind of upped it a little bit, taking into account like their contribution in killing this thing, and then their possible protection they could provide, and then them being able to cast underwater breathing to let them do this at all. So there's that. Eventually, party winds down. Everyone goes and takes their long rest. The next morning, Nyora is kind of already awake, surprisingly, even after all the drinking. She's preparing kind of the funeral ceremonies for the 7 sailors who had died on the ship fighting this thing. But she enters the Great Hall as the team are eating breakfast, and goes and rouses Mangior from his more drunken stupor, and then they set about to pay them. So, as originally, the offer was 2,000 gold plus a magic item of their choice. They don't really have a spellcaster who is like versed for arcane like identification of magic items. Like they do have detect magic, which they did use, but they don't have like identify, so they don't really know what the items do until they either attune to them or use them or find someone who can identify them. But in this village there isn't really anyone. So I think I said last time that I had given the list of magic items, so they expressed interest in the horn and then also the cloak and the ring, but they eventually decided to go with the cloak and the ring. So I brought the cost then, or the payment, down to 1,400 gold pieces. They took a little bit out in diamonds and jade for some spell components, so it ended up being 1,280 gold, and then cloak, the ring, and some gems. Umric got the cloak of protection, which he was pretty happy about. And then Valkyrie got the ring, and the ring is a ring of acid protection, and she did not. She's like, she feels she got the short end of the stick on that, but it might come in handy. They faced some acidy creatures before, and during their watch, like there was a creature that flew overhead that spit some weird acidy substance on the ground. You never know. Okay, so that's what they got. And then after some further negotiations with the Earl on the expedition, they kind of agree to sail the next day, and they'll take this day to kind of prepare the ships and go. And then Mangior also mentions that like the funeral processions will take place in about an hour, and like the group can meet the rest of like the villagers who are heading to the funeral, which takes place kind of like on a cliffside beach a little bit a ways from the village, from the city. So they have a little bit of time. They kind of start attuning to their items, and then Umric gets a message from Vernay, because it's been a week since they've left. This is Siskorian Keep, and this is about the time when she said that she would have an answer for them as to whether or not they could help on her political problem. So she sends a message basically like that she has an offer for them, and if they have time to talk. To which Umric replies, yes, they have time, and that they are in Bulgar, and yeah. Basically, since sending is very limited to 25 words, Vernay, who is now actually in her hometown of Lovos, has more access now to spells and magical resources, even though she is a lower level wizard, because she's kind of a multi-classed character, if rolling your spellcasting ability, you can still cast spells at higher level of spell scrolls, which she has access to. Basically, she uses a combination of scrying to figure out exactly where they are, and she can use project image, which is a 7th level spell. I can put that here. Basically, it creates like an illusory copy of you that you can see and hear through, and cause it to act and talk in a certain way. And basically, she uses this to communicate to them. Through this, she doesn't really provide that many details, because a lot of it she wants to discuss like in the safety of Lovos, which is more secure. So basically, she tells them that she's spoken to the Unkindness, which is like her group of Covenant leaders, and they've agreed that they are open to like allowing outsiders to help them with this problem, since that the teams that they had previously sent out all were apparently eliminated. But like with the caveat that this is a much more sort of official quest than they're used to dealing with Fernay, so they would have to get the details from the headmistress, and that it would require like signing a magical contract in order to kind of write out all the terms of the deal, and that would magically bind them so as they could not talk about this or what happened. And basically that Fernay and like the rest of them, they would basically like deny any sense of like collusion or working together with the 5 of them. Basically like a magical NDA, since they are a secretive organization who does not usually work with people not in their covenant. But then as to like the details of the quest and precisely what is going on, she's not at liberty to say right now. I think I could have maybe made it sound a little bit more urgent, since it is starting to kind of affect the cities in pro, but again, not wanting to give details until they are in Lavos. Although she did mention that like it is a matter of some urgency, and that they would like it solved as soon as possible in order to prevent like a war between countries. So the group, after discussing some, they kind of have the feeling that they don't want to be like at someone's beck and call, so they like, maybe she'd respect us more if we like, play hard to get and like don't jump at like every opportunity that she presents. So they decide that they want to follow through with their like sea expedition first, since they had like made a deal with Mangior first. So they reply to Fernay basically that they can be ready in 4 days, and that afterwards they would like transport to Aleth Malar, to which Fernay, who is kind of wishing that it would be done soon because, again, onset of war, but she like understands that there's not really a whole lot that she can do, and that like they've tried to solve this kind of within their own power before, and it hasn't really worked out, so she kind of has no choice but to agree. There might be consequences to them taking longer, either in the headmistress's decision for what to compensate them with, or with the power level of the encounter that they would have. So we'll see. But first off will be the sea voyage, which I'm pretty excited for. So after sending the message, they finish attuning to their items and then head out to the funerals. So here in like the cliffside beach, they're kind of described that there are like 7 large like pyres built. They're all kind of like wooden platforms with like piles of wood beneath, and both Nyota and Mangior have with their like faces kind of painted. Nyota kind of starts to sing in kind of an old, like almost like a chant, kind of like a prayer-esque. And as she's singing this kind of a haunting tune, Mangior, he lights a torch and kind of walks down the line, and one by one touches the torch to each of the pyres. They burst into flame. Several other members of the tribe, or of the city, take these ropes that are kind of tied to either side of each of the pyres and start kind of dragging them out to sea, and eventually they all kind of start to float out. The family members had like placed tokens upon each of the pyres for their fallen friends or family. As they watch as these kind of 7 like bonfires kind of slowly kind of pushed out to sea. And then that's kind of where I ended it. It was kind of abrupt, and one of my players was actually like, wait, what? Because I think we hadn't really been playing that long. We had started late, and that made me think that we had been playing a bit longer than we had. But yeah, so I was like, so it looks like these like kind of 7 flames almost are sitting on the surface of the ocean, and slowly one by one, the villagers, they all start to head back to Bolga as they kind of drift out farther into the distance, and that's where we'll end it. And it was just, I don't know why, it was just it was like abrupt. I don't normally do cliffhangers, but I have kind of wanted to. But I think, like, I don't know, something in me was like, this is a good place to end it. Like, we're gonna end it here. So I was just like, okay, we're ending it. And then it was done. So it was a bit weird, but I think it's fine because I don't think they really have a whole lot to prep. And then I didn't want to do, because I felt like anything else that they want to do would take a bit longer than like the time that we kind of we're hitting. So, and I also didn't want to do expedition stuff without our 5th member of the party. So I think it kind of worked out. And then I don't really mind, I think, like fast tracking to getting on the ships and like going out to the expeditions, and that's also like a day travel there, a day or so maybe to see dredge and whatever else, because I do have other stuff planned, and then like a day to come back, so we'll see. But anyways, that is session 27. I've got like a lot to prep and also like not much to prep. It's weird because I kind of know now kind of where the storyline is heading, and I'm pretty excited. I hope they go for it because it pertains to someone's storyline, and I feel like it's pretty important. And then if they don't do it, I mean, it's perfectly fine if they don't do it, but it'll just be a whole lot more like backtracking for them potentially. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. New developments happening. They'll be clear as episodes go on. But don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos. I guess you subscribe for notifications for more new videos. I love you all, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye. Can't talk today.